Hey guys, Youngblood with you, and what I wanted to do this afternoon was to do a quick channel update and just kind of a general update since I had a few things that I wanted to get in front of you all. Now, the first thing that I wanted to mention was just kind of more of a heads up for those of you that have interest, but Star Wars Battlefront goes into open beta today through the 12th, and like in most open betas, it's free. Now, I'm going to try and get a video up, assuming that I can actually get in and play it and the servers are working, but it's basically Star Wars done by Battlefield. So I'm pretty excited to get in and try this out since I really do enjoy the Battlefield franchise. Now, I've heard some bad press about the limitations that they put into place in this game, so I'm going to try and temper my expectations a little bit, but I do want to jump in and give it a go. So keep an eye out later, hopefully later today, for a first look video and then further analysis as time permits. Up next, though, that I wanted to talk about is a website, actually my website. I think you guys know I really enjoy interacting with y'all, and hell, it's probably one of my favorite things to do in regards to this channel, and I especially love when you guys help each other out and answer each other's questions, knowing full well that I don't always have time to be able to be there and do that. You guys have formed a really nice community and a really good environment. So with that in mind, I decided to create a website, which is now linked on my channel banner. But if you're interested in just jotting it down, it's STLYoungblood.weebly.com, and Weebly is W-E-E-B-L-Y is Weebly. Now, the site is new, and it's fairly limited at the moment. You know, I haven't been working on it for very long, but it does have a forum built along with a chat box, places for different guides, information about other Star Citizen providers, and information about how to join up with PXP. So I'm going to continue to work on the development of this site, and if it turns out to be used frequently, I'll probably end up making this a paid domain and put more efforts into its development. That being said, its current iteration is acceptable at the moment, at least it kind of is my testing ground. So I'm not real sure what the limitations are, at least at what's currently in place as far as the number of members or bandwidth. So if you run into any issues or maybe have suggestions on what you'd like to see there, please let me know either on the forum on that site or here. Now, I mentioned information there on how to join up with PXP, and I wanted to remind you all, especially those of you who are looking for an organization to call home, that PXP is still recruiting. So if you're interested in a good time with over 650 members or just being in an organization with me, there is a link to the RSI site down below in the comments in the description on how you can actually join up with us. Again, no pressure, just throwing it out there if you're looking for a place to call home. Now, I've had a lot of comments and messages asking me about the drama going on with the Star Citizen world and if I wanted to comment on it. And for those of you that have been lucky enough to avoid it to this point, the short version is that kind of quote-unquote unnamed sources have come out to say that Chris and Sandy are running CIG with illegal hiring practices. They're terrible to work with and are basically squandering the funds raised for personal gains. Now, before you get too worked up hearing that, please take note that all of these sources are anonymous to this point. Some information has been disproved, and the claims being made are all very Derek Smart-like, or as people on Reddit like to say, thou who shall not be named. Basically, though, super trolls are trying to take Star Citizen down through a smear campaign, and I'm not going to tell you how to think or what you should believe, but I will say this. Don't take whatever you read at face value. Remember, it's the internet. Any moron gets to say whatever they want. It's how it works. I mean, hell, you're listening to this moron right now, and nobody told me that I couldn't do it. So I'm going to say this, though, because I think there's a lot of people concerned or annoyed we don't have more content yet that's been developed or released for the game. Remember, this game is being built in different places by different studios at the same time. So while we may not have 2.0 or Star Marine or the baby PTU yet, and maybe the release date was set in the past, that doesn't mean they haven't been started or they're not being actively developed. You know, we know that they're actively being worked on. We see the content, and one isn't dependent on the other's release to be able to start the next section. So try to have faith, stay positive, and at least do your own research. We know that people love causing a shitstorm for no good reason. It's a terrible quality of some people, and it just happens, and it seems like it really comes out on the internet. So that's about all I really want to say on the issue, since I really do hate just drama in general, but especially something like this that I'm pretty passionate about. However, if there is an overwhelming demand for more on this topic, or people want to hear more, at least from my perspective, I will consider getting into it because I want to meet your needs. But there's not much of a reason at this point, at least in my mind, especially with SitCon coming around the corner. We're going to be getting new information and new content, and new fun stuff we can talk about instead. The last thing that I wanted to cover was in regards to fan funding. And I've had some messages from some subscribers asking why I didn't have a Patreon account set up, either just out of pure curiosity or they were wanting to donate. But the answer to that is kind of twofold. One, I'm weird about asking for handouts. It just makes me feel uncomfortable. And I've always been just kind of too lazy to set it up. Probably because it's not something I'm really passionate about doing. But that's not a knock on other content creators at all. I mean, people spend a lot of time and money and efforts in doing their content, so I totally understand those have had it set up. It was just something that I personally haven't been real comfortable with, at least to this point. But at this point, I decided to try and take advantage of the YouTube-built fan funding cards that you can add into your videos. And you may have noticed that, because I put it on my last few videos, that there's this little support STLYoungblood button that comes sliding across the screen for about 10 seconds. So as opposed to having to go to Patreon or setting up reoccurring donations, this can be done kind of ad hoc at will. I think for me, this is a simpler, kind of less obtrusive way to kind of set this up for you all to help keep the channel going. Now, this is obviously not a requirement or getting someone an upper hand in future contests. It's just a voluntary space to provide donations to the channel if you're so inclined. Now, I plan to keep all the funds gathered from this kind of funneled back into the channel in some way, shape, or form. You know, whether that be getting new ships to review and provide ongoing content with, maybe paying for the website domain if that ends up taking off, maybe doing giveaways down the line, kind of giving back to the community, or maybe that comes down to new hardware. That means I could then turn around and review it with you guys. So if this system doesn't end up working well, maybe I'll consider moving it into like a Patreon situation. But this is just kind of where I personally felt comfortable starting. If you guys have any suggestions or questions on that, let me know. Or just really on anything that I've talked about, because we're really wrapping up here towards the end. The other thing I always want to throw out there is I'm here to kind of serve your needs. So if there's a question or a video or a training or something like that that you want to see, always feel free to reach out and let me know. Don't just assume that I'm going to get the content that you want to see out. I mean, hopefully I'm putting stuff you want to see, but if there's something you need to see or want help on, let me know. And I can try and get a video out that can help you out, or maybe point you to another provider who's doing some really good content in that realm. So otherwise, stay tuned. We've got the Battlefront first look coming, assuming everything actually works, and a whole lot more content coming soon. I appreciate you guys watching and being a member of this community, and take care.